Ever since I was a kid, man, I tell you, I've fucking hated reading. Like in school, for passion, I've never ever been able to just sit there and read a book. And you know what? As much as it makes me sound like a boomer, it probably is something to do with all that damn technology and those smartphones. You're on that phone too much, but you know what? It probably was right, because I could not focus on a book, bro. We had English lessons. They would give us homework and say, "Oh, you have to finish this book in the next 2 months." And as soon as I hear that, I'd be like, "Fuck you! I am not reading that shit." And then I would just kind of just Google answers and just pray that I pass, which somehow I did by some miracle. I have no idea how. But long story short, what I'm trying to say is I've never been a book reader. And don't get me wrong, I've tried after school to get into books as well. I've tried self-help books, improvement books, even fiction books. I've tried Lord of the Rings, Game of Thrones. I've tried to read things like Atomic Habits. That's a banger. I've even tried other sort of educational stuff like a poker theory books. I used to be quite into poker, but I was always really bad at it. I've got these books. Even language learning, I should probably throw that in there as well. I've got these books. I don't think I ever finished a single one. I would get maybe 30, 40 pages in, and the thought of going back and opening that book was just hell. I couldn't think of anything worse than just sitting there reading a page, when realistically I could be playing games, I could be scrolling, I could be doing anything. Even fucking watching paint dry would have been more entertaining than reading some of these goddamn books, right? However, recently, something's changed. I don't know what it was, right? But in the last few months or so, I have started having a bit more of a hankering to read. So I used to listen to audiobooks a lot back when I had a really good routine. A few years ago, I think it might have been 2023 or something, I got in the best routine I've been in quite a while. That was about 3 years ago now. Wow, Jesus Christ. Time flies, eh? Anyway, I still then couldn't really read books, but I could listen to an audiobook because I had a lot of free time and I had a commute to work every day. So audiobooks were something I could do, especially since I was trying to get 10,000 steps in and whatnot. So I would listen to audiobooks. Now, audiobooks were great, and I think they were the stepping stone into getting into this sort of like improvement content. But I will be completely honest with you now, there's really not that much I remember from the audiobooks. Like, for example, I listened to the whole Meditations by Marcus Aurelius. I listened to The Art of War by Sun Tzu. I know these are proper, like, Joe Rogan books, but just hear me out. Um, I don't remember a single thing from them, to be honest with you. The only thing I do remember, and I probably remember it just because it's also regurgitated in a lot of YouTube videos, was from Atomic Habits, which I listened to all the way through. The only thing I can really remember is habit stacking, which I do implement now, which is quite good, and making good habits easy and making bad habits bad. Not bad, sorry, making bad habits harder. And it can be a really easy thing to do, like just putting the vape away in a drawer. But just that thought of having to go into the drawer and get it actually creates resistance and makes you less likely to do it. So, for example, I haven't vaped in 2 days. I finally quit that after 3, 4 years. My vape is still basically within arm's reach of me inside the drawer next to my desk. But because it's in there and it's not in front of me, it's not in my face the whole time, it makes me less likely to do it. That's just a fact. Anyway, sorry, got a little bit sidetracked there. The point is, I've never been a book reader, but I can listen to audiobooks, although they didn't really sit in my brain too well. I've forgotten the majority of them, to be honest with you. Then I went down this rabbit hole of just listening to loads of different audiobooks, which honestly just was mental procrastination. I wasn't really gaining anything from them. I just thought I was being productive because I was walking and listening to audiobooks. And don't get me wrong, it was way better than sitting at home and just watching YouTube and playing games, that's for sure. And it probably did give me a bit of motivation to actually continue and to, get back into it in the future. So I am glad I did it. But nothing comes close to reading a motherfucking book. Again, I don't know what caused this, but in the last few months, I randomly just decided maybe I should try and read a book. And so I had a fiction book from last summer, which I only got 20 pages into, and then over Christmas, I actually ended up reading quite a lot of it. But fiction's cool and all, but for me, I do prefer non-fiction. Like, not, I'm not a philosopher or anything, but I do like these like meditations from Marcus Aurelius. I'm going to be reading that through. I'm trying to read a little bit of the Bible, and the main one that I read was by Dr. Viktor Frankl. Now, Mr. Frankl, or Dr. Frankl, I should say, had a pretty tough life, and he wrote, or actually, he invented a different school of psychotherapy called logotherapy. Logotherapy, I hope I'm saying that right, which is all about therapy of the mind and how you need to find, or you can find, meaning in suffering. Regardless of what you're going through, you can always find purpose and meaning. And through that suffering, you're actually able to motivate yourself to keep going. Now, I know at face value that can sound quite pretentious, right? What credentials does this man have to even be saying this sort of stuff? Well, first of all, he was a certified doctor, so he understands things like that, right? Second of all, this guy survived 3 years in Auschwitz during the Second World War and still managed to keep himself sane with all the heinous atrocities going on around him. The book is called Man's Search for Meaning, and I cannot recommend it enough. I will warn you, the first half of the book is basically the first chapter. So the first chapter takes up half of the book, which is basically just a retelling of the experiences of his life as a prisoner throughout the 3 years that he was at Auschwitz before liberation. And I will be completely honest with you, it's a hard read. It's pretty tough to get through, and also no questions are immediately answered. If you so for me, when I read, maybe it's not the best way of doing it, but when I read, I'm looking for an answer that I can implement in my life to make myself better, right? It's why like I prefer non-fiction over fiction. I don't mind fiction, but it's because I'm looking for something to implement in my life, and naturally just hearing stories about some guy in Auschwitz, it was a little bit. I can't really implement this to my life, nor would I really want to be honest with you. I'm not going to go over the whole story, because obviously this is a fairly long book. Well, I wouldn't say it's a long book, but I could go on. In fact, you know what? I think I probably will do a separate video on this book alone because I'm telling you, it will literally revolutionize the way you think about things and the way you take action towards stuff and your attitude to when you're trying to maybe burning out or something. Because one thing I really liked about Dr. Frankel in this book was even though he was a prisoner at a literal death camp for 3 years, he still manages to compare himself to the average man who is suffering at his day job or a family that, isn't the most loving or something. Things that are much less serious, and it would be very easy for him to just say, I've suffered more than you, therefore you have to listen to me. But he doesn't do that actually. He literally compares himself to the average man in the second half of the book when he begins to explain how logotherapy works. And he says, we're all suffering. Like, the severity isn't important. If What's important is if you don't find meaning in the suffering, that's when things get bad, right? So no matter how hard you're suffering, if you can find meaning, it takes the edge off tremendously. Now look, I'm paraphrasing. This is a fucking 10-minute YouTube video, alright? Don't just listen to me and think, oh, well, that sounds a little bit fucking stupid or anything like that. Seriously, if you want to read a book for the year and you haven't read Man's Search for Meaning, I fully recommend it. Again, I'm going to wrap this little segment up because I literally could waffle about this book for like 20 minutes, to be honest with you. But that's not the aim of the video today. The aim of the video today is just for me to drill into that little head of yours that reading books is absolutely OP. They are like real life power-ups, bro. It's like in Halo when you pick up an overshield. Why would you not want to pick up the overshield? Of course you want to pick up the overshield. That's literally what books are, except they're like semi-permanent. They are literally there, waiting for you to read them just to give you a fucking edge in life, right? Just to give you this new ability or power that you never knew you had. And so I'm incorporating reading into my routine every single day. I'm reading I kind of just read what I want. Like I mentioned earlier, meditations in the Bible, yes, I'm reading those, but there's so many other things that I want to read as well. And like, if you don't know what to read, all you have to do, I don't care what your opinion on AI is, just get that argument out of your head. Go to whatever chatbot you want, ChatGPT, Grok, Claude, I don't care what fucking chatbot you use. Just go there, explain some series that you like, some TV series, maybe your favorite series. I don't know what you watch, Game of Thrones, Sopranos, just any fiction that you like if you're looking for fiction. Give it a bunch of series, tell it what you like in the series or what you liked about the series that you're listing, and then it will give you a list of books that you can then go out and see if you like. That's what I did with the fiction book I had, and I'll be honest with you, I'm really enjoying the fiction book. It's The Lies of Locke Lamora. I doubt anyone will really know it. I'd never heard of it before this. But if you don't want fiction, all you have to do is just, I wouldn't say trauma dump, but you know, it's a good word for it. Just trauma dump on the chatbot and just say like, look, here's what my mentality is at the moment. Here's what I'm looking for. Here's what I want to strive towards, and then it will give you some books. Now, the non-fiction ones will be slightly more generic because the self-improvement niche is kind of dominated, or I should say monopolized, by the same sort of books. Like, you'll get recommended Atomic Habits all the time. You'll get recommended Jordan Peterson's X Rules for Life. I forget how many it is, 12 I think. But the important thing is you need to go out and find something that you resonate with, right? That is the main thing. It doesn't matter if the book is a 10 out of 10. If it doesn't resonate with you, there is basically no point in really reading it. If it's a chore for you to read, and don't get me wrong, there is a line there because most books when you first start them will be a chore to read. But you have to push through that, and I promise you, once you get to page 50, page 100, you start getting into the swing of things and you want to turn into the next page. Like, it becomes a want at that point. So I really want to hammer this home. I'm going to be reading something every day, and I strongly recommend you find something to read yourself. Like, if you don't know what to pick, The Power of Now is something that I'm going to be looking into. I heard another YouTuber talking about that, how it completely changed the way he thought about stuff. So The Power of Now is good. Man's Search for Meaning is a bit less entry level. I know I started with it, but it took me a little while to really push through it. I did finish it in a few days, to be fair, but that I could see somebody burning out in the first chapter because it was a bit of a tough read to get through. So yeah, Man's Search for Now, the classics, Meditations and Atomic Habits, if you haven't read any of those. I think in future, I haven't read enough to really put out genuine recommendations at the moment, but give me like a few months when I've read a few books, I can come back here and I can give you all like a plethora of books. In 2 to 3 months, I'll be hopefully I would have read way more than I have read now. I mean, not hopefully, that's going to be a fact. Anyway, I really have no idea how this recording is now over 13 minutes long, so I should probably wrap this up. Read some fucking books, do some productive shit, get out there and conquer the fucking world, motherfucker. Come on, go do something. Go find a book, man. Fucking read. this has been your boy, Big Ol' fucking Jimbo. Go read a fucking book. I'll see you in the next one.